entity by itself.
So if people go back and watch like earlier episodes, they'll be able to chart her emotional progress.
There's kind of a wave chart that happens with the writer.
Very nice. Jennifer, in general, is it more challenging and or more fun when you're coming up with wardrobe for a character from scratch, like with Kim, or when you're taking someone who existed on Breaking Bad and figuring out what you can put in them in this setup?
A little bit of both. I think it's definitely more fun when I have starting from scratch because I have a wider, landscape to work. And then it is established characters or already have something already set. The challenge in that is how do I put my own twist on something that already exists? So it's a little bit, it's kind of having the same palette, but doing different applications versus something that I create and something that I may embroider or enhance that already exists. But they're both pretty cool things. I mean, I'm just really privileged to have been invited on to do the last season of Breaking Bad. I can't tell you what a wonderful passport it's been for me, and to carry that into Better Call Saul. It's been great.
Now, Judy, sort of following up on that, you're the new kid on the panel, and so you have to come in. It's a show that already has some pre-established sets. There's also other sets we've seen on Breaking Bad that may be coming up at some point. What are the specific challenges of sort of trying to maintain continuity but also make these things your own?
Well, I was a huge fan of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, so I was thrilled when I got the call to do the show. And the gift really is that it's a character-driven show, and my process of designing really comes from the inside out. So there's already this world in which it's established that I can pull from in terms of designing. So the challenge, of course, is to keep the integrity, the visual integrity of the shows, both shows. But also put your own spin on it. And in terms of sets that were returning, there were certain aspects that we could reinterpret or modify and others that were not. Just based on the storyline of how we're going to see it, how it has been seen, and how it may or may not be visually either jarring or enhanced. So that was always the balance.
But if, for instance, like at some point we're going to see the strip mall office of Saul Goodman, whenever that comes, like you can't come in and say, you know what, we don't want those columns anymore. The columns have to be there, right?
Well, it depends on what's written on the page and the action that takes place, not just for that episode, but what's to come and where the writers see it going. So there's always a little bit of leeway in terms of modifying what has been established. Or it's the writer's, preference to say, oh, I never liked those columns, we can get rid of the columns. I mean, I've had that permission sometimes as well. So it really depends on each set or the location, how much can or cannot be modified.
Marshall, you were a DP on an episode of Breaking Bad and have now been on this for a while. What would you say are sort of the key differences in the visual language between the two shows?
I would say that Saul is a much more anchored show. It's not nearly as fast-moving and very considerate of the frames. They're very thoughtful, but they also, they use them in depth. A lot of the wider shots get used on this show more than it feels like more than a lot of other shows. So you have to be really careful that you're very happy with side shots and where you put the camera, because it's going to get used.
Well, are there kinds of shots that would have been okay on Breaking Bad that are not here, or vice versa?
Yeah, I mean, it's like they said, we keep coming back to it's all story driven. It really is story driven. The famous wide shots the extremely wide shots that you saw on Breaking Bad and also to a certain extent on Saul. Were an idea to really show the surroundings, being in Albuquerque, I'm sure. But it became, kind of a stylized look of the show, and it really worked. So, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
And we shoot video now versus film.
Oh, right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's all digital now, so it's, you know, it has its own style in a lot of ways, and a lot of, you know, it has a different look that way.
And when you're trying to do some of these sort of memorable shots, some of which we saw on the clip reel, like Chuck staring up at the exit sign, or the reveal of the Pollos Hermanos sign, or Jimmy and Kim standing in front of the glass blocks with their sort of bodies forming an M, like, does that take a lot longer to set up than like a shots might on some other show?
No, not really. I mean, it's you know, oftentimes those things are an idea that's being formed and eventually found. You know, the smoking in front of the glass blocks was such. I mean, one of the last couple seasons in the parking structure was such an iconic frame that we knew that we had. You know, it was a hard act to follow. So we were trying to come up with something interesting. And kind of stumbled into that glass block thing in a lot of ways, but yeah, it's you know, you give it a lot of thought and you know, really work on it. So as far as the setup's concerned, it's usually pretty well thought out by the time we get to that point. But yeah, it's definitely given a lot of thought.
And Ray, as a performer, like, how aware of you when you're in one of these shots of like how remarkable it's going to look, or do you sort of, when you see it later on, you're like, wow, that Bob and I were a part of that?
I try really hard not to be aware of, like, I'm in a cool painting. You know what I mean? Like, I was explaining to somebody the other day that it can be a trap for an actor to play nude. Be very careful, I think, of playing like, oh, this is kind of film noirish, and it started to affect your voice, and now it's affecting the way you're playing it. And you can't do that. Kim is not aware that she's in a very cool show. You know, that being said, I was thrilled to find out, and now intensely rely on the fact that Marshall and our directors and his camera ops, Matt and Paul, I see them watch rehearsal, and while they do have artistic designs about the wide or a beautiful shot of someone over somebody, I see them watch rehearsal intensely, which we really do utilize on the show in a way that is a huge part, I think, of why the storytelling gets to really come through, because they give us time to memorize their words and to rehearse them. But he watches and he looks for, oh, okay, so on the page, maybe the scene was more about the line before, but I'm watching it, and this person looking away and not being able to meet the gaze of their scene partner, that's actually where your heart breaks in this scene, and then he'll design the shot to capture that. That I'm aware of, because I rely on, you're a team going in, and you have a safety net to know that you can play the scene and play the pauses, which he can tell you. We did how many minutes of silence this year?
4 minutes.
But we were all thrilled. You felt that buzz of like, oh my God, they trust our audience so much that they will just stay on a tight wire for that long, and that's a beautiful thing. And then you feel, it's like theater. You feel like we're all doing it together.
But something like the hand-holding scene, there's not like people sort of constantly like, you know, calling after you. It's like, no, you have to stand a little bit closer, you have to stand at this angle, you have to hold your arms like this.
We do a ton of it.
Okay.
Yes, there's definitely things where it was like, oh my God, the thing where I had to pull something out of a gift box that you would think was the easiest thing in the world.
Oh yeah, the reflection in the glass. And,
Catching a reflection that, like, yeah, but don't make it look like you're weird. Oh. Like, those go on for a while, and I know the bingo ping pong balls, I was there, we were doing reshoots, and they were still having people do those. So it's intense, but it makes there's nothing in the frames that you guys are watching that, there are happy accidents, like you said, there's just things you discover in the process, but nothing was not thought about, nothing. And that takes some time and care, but you know when you're doing it that it's for a reason. It is not meant to be some tedious method. It is creating these art pictures.
And you know, I have to say, to add to what Ray is saying, although the three of us here work in different disciplines, there's amazingly high amount of collaboration between Judy as a production designer and Marshall. I will sometimes stop to him and go, listen, I want to use this blouse. How is this going to light? Or Judy and I will talk about color tones and sets, so we don't end up with the dress being the same color as the wall paint. Right. You know, it could happen. And so even though our disciplines are distinctly different, there's a very common DNA that runs through what we do. on the technical side of things.
All right, I think we're going to take some of your questions now.
I am a huge fan of the show, and every year my biggest